Wouldn't it be nice to gain just a little bit more SR every time you win, or lose a little bit less every time you don't win? Yeah, well, you can't have it, okay? Life's not fair, kid. I mean, in today's video, we're gonna be giving you 5 tips towards getting more SR every time you win a game. If you didn't know already, the performance-based SR system means if you do really well in the game compared to other people on the same hero, you will gain more SR for a win and you'll lose less every time you lose. So what we're going to be doing is teaching you how exactly you can be sort of tricking the system into thinking you're doing better without actually harming your gameplay or your win rate or your teams at all. This will exclusively help you and there really shouldn't be any problems. You'll probably actually come out a better player after learning these tips instead of just a player with a higher SR. Tip number 1 is going to be play off meta heroes. Now, not every off meta hero is going to be for you. You should never really be playing Symmetra on attack or Bastion on attack, or in certain situations these heroes just aren't good. But there are many situations where a hero like Sombra would be really good for your team, or maybe a Bastion could just shred a comp that's running too many shields. There are plenty of situations where low pick rate heroes would get the job done. Now, here's the thing. Just playing these heroes isn't going to get you more SR. You have to know how to play them too. So ahead of time, you should have a few off meta heroes that you've gotten decent at and you've learned. And the reason this is going to help you gain more SR is because of the same reason that one tricks get more SR. These players know their heroes very well and therefore will perform better on their hero than anyone else, which means if you can perform better on the hero you're playing, you're going to gain more SR for wins. The reason off meta heroes are good to play is because not many players play them. They have very low pick rates. So if you learn how to play them very well, it's very easy or much easier to have really good statistics on them comparatively. It's much easier to become above average on someone like Sombra than it is on someone like Soldier 76 because the sheer amount of players that know how to play Soldier 76 is extremely high. But the sheer amount of players that know how to play Sombra is much lower. So picking a hero like that is going to net you more SR in the long run. Tip number 2 is going to be maximize your ultimate's impact. Now, when a lot of players hear this, they think, all right, I'm going to wait for a 5-man res as mercy. I'm going to get that Deadeye that kills the entire enemy team. Or I'm going to Dragon Blade into the entire enemy team. Doesn't matter if the mercy reses, that's okay as long as I get play of the game. That's what a lot of players think, but that's actually not at all what you want to be doing here. Blizzard weights the amount of kills and the amount of impact you have on your ultimates based on how many people you kill in a game or affect in a game with your ultimate. This means a higher total number of people killed with an ultimate or rezzed or hacked in the case of Sombra is going to be better than 1 or 2 really big ultimates. For example, 3 2-man reses is going to be weighted higher than 1 5-man res on Mercy because you've rezzed more people during the game. It doesn't really care so much about how many people you got per res, it cares how many reses you got off. The way I determined this was pretty simple. When you look at high ranked players, I go to top 500 and compare a lot of top 500 players. There's one thing they all have in common. Well, actually a few things, but one of the big things is their ultimate presence, which is what we're going to call this, ultimate presence, is huge. They get a total amount of kills that is really high on their ultimates, or a total number of reses or hacks if you're playing Sombra again, like we said. Their ultimate presence is massive. This means on a per hero basis, they know when they should be ulting. For example, people like Tracer and McCree are going to get the highest ultimate presence by using their ults more frequently. Deadeye kills people really quick now. You can lock onto 1 or 2 people really quick at the beginning of a fight and take them out. That's going to be much more useful than trying to wait for the perfect opportunity to get that 5-man ultimate from behind the enemy team just to have a diva turn around and defense matrix the whole thing. Similarly, Tracer shouldn't be exclusively waiting for Graviton Surge to use her ultimate. You can get 1 or 2 people with a stick very, very easily on Tracer if you know what you're doing. And that's going to maximize the amount of kills you get with it in the long run. Keep in mind, this tip doesn't mean just use your ultimate more frequently. On some heroes, you do have to wait. Someone like Zarya is going to have to wait a lot longer because her ultimate charges very slow. If you only kill 1 or 2 people in a Graviton Surge, it's not nearly as good as waiting for that 5-man because, like I said, you don't get that ultimate as often. So you're going to need to maximize the time you do get it. So in essence, for every hero you play, make sure you find the optimal amount of times you use your ultimate in a game, how long you should be waiting what you should be waiting for to maximize the amount of kills or effects you get with it. It's a little bit harder to identify on Zenyatta and Lucio, so I'm going to go over that really quick here. On Zenyatta, if the enemy team has a big combo that's pretty sure to wipe you, saving it for that's a good idea, because you can heal so much during that ultimate, it'll just boost your stats through the roof. Like a Dragon Strike plus Graviton Surge, if you're a Zenyatta, you can heal through that no problem, and you'll get a huge bit of statistics for doing so. So saving it for that's going to be a good idea. For Lucio, it's more about just how many people you place your barriers on. Overwatch doesn't really do a good job of identifying how many people like survived because you barriered them. It's not really an easy statistic to count. So just use it at the beginning of fights when you can land it on your whole team. That's going to be your goal, landing it on everybody or as many people as possible on your team. It goes without saying that if anything I tell you is going to affect your win rate in any way, shape, or form, like you can get a good ult off as Lucio, but you probably don't need it to win the round and you should save it, definitely save it. Don't do anything in a situation where it could hinder your win rate. That's not good. Tip number 3 is going to be know which statistics matter most. Some statistics on your hero really don't play a big part in your SR gains and losses, like accuracy, but other ones like elims, medals, and damage done have a very big impact. So let's talk about how you can be maximizing those. Don't get me wrong, it's good to have a high accuracy, and it's a great way to tell if you're improving or not by looking at your accuracy over time. But I see some people play, I was actually just looking at some Coach Hawk videos because I'm thinking of starting that up again, and I see a lot of people who don't take shots that they just don't think they can land, even though it won't harm them to try. For example, Soldier 76s that just don't shoot at people that are far away when they're being attacked by teammates because you don't think you can land the shot, I guess, or maybe you won't deal a lot of damage. If it doesn't harm you to try and take the shot, you might as well take it. Furthermore, on heroes like Reaper, as well as any hero that is limited to very close ranges, try to land shots on enemies that are about to die, especially if you've got nothing better to do. For example, there's like a really low HP baby diva on point. Your team is definitely going to kill her. Why don't you just take a shot into her to boost your elims? Because even if you only deal 1 damage to her, your elim stat is going to go up by 1. So make sure you're trying to not minimize your accuracy. That's not the goal here. Really maximizing damage done in elims in ways that don't harm you. That's how you're going to want to boost those statistics. It's actually one of the reasons that body shotting Widowmakers can climb. You ever seen that Widowmaker in your game and you're just like, how on earth is this Widowmaker at this rank? She basically only plays Widowmaker. Her win rate's below 50% and yet she's at her season high. This is exactly why. The Widowmakers that aren't good at landing headshots but can still land body shots will end up netting a very high amount of eliminations, because if you body shot everyone on the enemy team, even if you're not making that big of an impact, which that is a medium-sized impact, even if you're not getting all the kills, you're getting a lot of elims in the long run. So the game thinks you're doing a good job, even if you're, well, not. Some heroes have their own special statistics that really don't correlate to other heroes, and the biggest example of this is going to be Sombra. Sombra can hack enemies, and she doesn't, nobody else can do that in the game. Hacking enemies, if they end up dying, will not only net you an assist, but it will also net you a little bit more, I guess, benefit in the SR. I don't know how to say it. It's going to help you in the long run to gain SR. There's really no good way of putting it. When you hack people and they die, you basically get like a special assist that's worth more than an assist, especially if you shoot them too, because then you get the elimination, you get the assist for hacking them, and the assist for shooting them, which is going to boost your SR gains a whole lot. That's going to help you greatly. Other heroes with similar things include Lucio, Winston, and Pharah in the way that they can knock enemies off maps. I guess Orisa too, she can do that. All of those are pretty big in the SR weighting system. Lots of those kills will let you net you a lot of SR. Ultimate shutdowns are a little bit heavier weighted too. If you're using Ana or McCree with his flashbang, or anyone that can shut down an ultimate in some way, that will give you a little bit more in the SR department as well, but that one is not as much. And if you're wondering how I know some of these, well, there's a little bit of talking I've done to other players, some anecdotal evidence, as well as using the play of the game system to kind of determine these. When you look at the play of the game system, you can really see how heavily Overwatch weighs plays that are made, and you see these things commonly. Boops are very heavily weighted, knocking people off the map. That's weighted a lot. Ultimate shutdowns even show up sometimes in play of the game. That's how they're weighted, and especially you can see this with Mercy's reses. They show up so often in the play of the game. You know that Blizzard weights them extremely heavily, not only in the play of the game system, but the SR system as well. And that's also why you don't see things like sharpshooters sharpshooter anymore. You have to land like 3 or 4 consecutive headshots in a row. I've gotten 3 headshots in a row as Widow, which I think is a very sizable, sharpshooter, just knocking out 3 enemies with 3 separate shots, and that won't be play of the game below a 3-man Mercy res. So you can see what I'm saying there in that department, that like Mercy reses are going to be weighted higher than accuracy and other stuff like that. That's all we've got for today. I know I said 5 tips, but I kind of condensed them into 3 as the video went along, and I'm too lazy to re-record that part, so we're just going to leave it in. If you enjoyed this, check out yesterday's video, which is about an honor-based system that should get you free skins if you aren't toxic. That sounds pretty great, right? Check that out, and I'll see you guys all later. Have a good one. Lone Hawk out.